Time for Cornhole Boards. This is for Hart County Special Olympics. Got 3 sets. I showed you the other night, I had the wood all cut up on one of my other videos. This is the frame. I was talking about the long pieces, short pieces. They're plain, sanded, and jointed. Make this flat surface right here, and I think I just got a splinter in my hand. But make this flat surface right here. These are the boards, are a 1/2 inch thick. They are sanded, really smooth. So what I do now is I'll put some glue down. I'll put this down, the main board, and then I will brad nail it all around the corners here. And I'm gonna do all sets like that first step tonight, and then tomorrow night I'll start on the holes and the cornholes. And of course, there's, like I said, there's a jig for everything. So here's a jig I made for the cornhole board, because instead of having to measure every time, I put right side on there, so it would help tell me where this part goes, and top up here, because simple mind like me has to have stuff like that written down. But I butt this up, I flush this at the end of on the side of the boards here, and then I will draw a line right there, because this board is measured already. Cornhole boards call for 1 foot into the middle of the hole from the side of the board on each side. So then down from the top, it's 9 inches to the middle of the hole. So when I get ready to cut this thing, instead of measuring that every time and do the boards, I made this jig. So like I said, I could just draw a circle around and take the jig off, and it's in the required area where it needs to be. Then I can just cut the holes with my router, my handheld router, Ryobi router. And that takes a little while, but I cut the hole out, then I sand inside the hole. That's the next step I'll do after I get the boards put down. And that's the next step. That's the step that comes before I put the primer on the board. In this case, these boards are going to be orange and black, because that's the Hart County colors. The top's going to be orange. I'm going to have probably about a 1.5 inch or 1 inch border. It goes around. It's going to be black, and then the sides will be black. On the outsides of the wood will be black. Yeah, I'll sand it again first on the sides, just to make sure that all the roughness is off the boards, and then that will be the next step. And then pretty much the legs come next. I flip the board over, and I'll show that in a different video, because that's going to be a different night. The legs, to me, are the hardest part of a cornhole board. Just getting the cuts right, which I do have a jig for that. I've already got a leg cut that I just use as a template, and cut the other legs. But sometimes it's still give or take a little bit, and you have to trim some more on the miter saw. All right, this is my last board that I've got all the other ones put together. I'm gonna video this part of what I just did with all the other 5 boards so far. Let's get this out of the way. First off, like I said, the piece is already cut. I'm match these ends up here. Get my square. Make sure they're square there, and here on this side. And I get my Jorgensen clamp. Sort of hold them together just a little bit. I don't over tighten it too much, because it'll cause the boards to shift a little bit. So just enough to hold it in place for them. See, they just slid right there when I was talking about it. But make sure it's still square over there at that end. And at this end. Then I get my drill, my DeWalt drill, and I'll go ahead and drill the pilot holes. Sometimes this wood's thicker than, it's more hard than some of the other soft woods I use, but I'll take these 2.5 inch screws, just run them into the boards, holding the frame together. All right, go to the other side over here. Now come to the other end down here. Do the same thing. Repeat the process. And get my square and square this thing up too. Make sure it's going to be in place. First, I'll tighten it just a little bit. Square it up down here. All looks good there. Looks good there. Repeat the drilling again. And again, this is my number 6 board tonight doing this. So it's taking me about an hour so far, I guess, and maybe under an hour. The reason why I don't clamp this real tight, because if I clamped it real tight, as tight as it'll go, it'll cause that thing to start wobbling down there, and then it won't make it. See, if the more I tighten it, the more wobble it got. If I just loosen it up, just barely have it to where it'll hold the board for me, it don't do that. So finish with those 2 things. Now what I do is, if you notice, I got the rounded sides of the 2x4s. As I said before, usually when I'm building legs with these things, I'll trim them, get the roundness off, but I'll take this and flip it over, because the reason why is because these are cut. These round ends are cut off on this, because this is where the board's going to go. That way it gives it a flat contact with the top of the cornhole board. Then I'll take my glue bot. This is called a glue bot off Amazon. And I'll just go glue all the way around it. The extra hold it in place. If I turn my fan on, it's kind of hot back here tonight. And get some glue just like that right there. Put the cap on my glue bot. Then I get the next board, lay it on top of the glue. Then I gotta even it up with the frame. Make sure all the corners are even. Sometimes it'll have just a little bit of an overhang. On one side I get it fit right, then it'll have just a little bit of an overhang in certain parts. So what I do there is I'll get my handheld router, little router like that, Ryobi router, and I'll go around and I'll cut that piece, trim it off to make it match the board, the frame board. Next step here is then I get the staple gun. There's got 2-inch staples inside this gun, 2-inch brad nails, I mean. And I'll hit the corners first. That'll hold it in place. Then I'll run 2 more across the top. Then I'll go about 4 down this way. 4 down this way. All right, then that part's done. The next step I'll do, I'm not doing it tonight, but of course I said like I cut the hole right there. Then I got another jig. This is more of a square jig. What it does, it tells me where to cut the hole. That matches, because it has to be a certain distance down from the top of the board, so when the legs go to turn, you'll have plenty of leeway to turn. But what I usually do with this, I'm not going to do it tonight because I'm tired, number one. What I do with this part is, when I get ready to, is I will clamp this together, and I'll go in with the 3/8 drill bit from this side to cut through the board on each side, because that's where the bolt's going to go through to connect the leg. So this is just a jig for that one reason. Then, as I said a minute ago, got another jig. This is the actual leg, but it's not the leg that I'm using to attach all these boards, because this is my template. So what I do next is I take the 13-inch boards that I cut for the legs. I'll lay them down. I'll mark them. I'll mark all the angles on the board, and I'll take them and cut them. I'll kind of round the tops off right here a little bit, but this part will go wherever the bolt's coming through, and that hole is probably about that far back. And then the legs, I'll bolt to the legs, and then they should be able to swing out just like that right there, and give it the 12-inch, 1 foot official length from top to bottom. So that's something I'll do, not tonight, but that is the next step on these boards. And if you take a look, there's the boards I've done so far. Gotta get a better angle. You see some right here in the front, and then I've got some more laid up in the back over there. These are the boards I've done tonight. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do with the board tonight. And I'll resume tomorrow night with the cutting of the hole next. All right, another day on the cornhole boards. So tonight is the night I'm going to cut the hole in all 6 boards for the cornhole. I've already got it marked off as I showed you my jig the other night. I've already got it circled and marked, so now I get ready to run the router, the loud machine. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drill with my bit here. I'll drill a guide hole right on the edge of the circle. The reason why I do that to start the guide hole is because when I put my bit in my router, I put it through the hole and I'll go around. So that's just start. That's just a starting hole. It's like a pre-drilled hole on a drill, but it's going to be a little bit bigger of a bit. It's going to be my guide hole. So once I get that going and get this bit lined up in my router, I'll be able to start cutting the hole. All right, get my bit in my router. Now I'm going to go ahead and drill this hole. Here's my guide hole. So I can get the bit in. That didn't take long for that part. Then I'll start with my bit. We'll go right in that hole, and I'll just go around the circle here with that shortly. First, I'm gonna vacuum up all this crap, so it won't be so much of a mess to go through. All right, that took just about maybe 3 or 4 minutes to get that cut out. Makes a mess, as you can see my shirt. But now what I'll do is I'll vacuum some of this up and go around the edges with some sandpaper, sand this, make it a little bit smoother. Probably get my Dremel and trim around this just a little bit to make it a little more flat too. So I get the humps in it, but that's basically what I'll do with all 6 holes, all 6 boards. Just cut the hole exactly like I'm doing now, and I will be covered even more in sawdust, as you can see. But this is pretty much the stage for all 6 boards I'm going to be doing here tonight, and probably tomorrow night I'll go ahead and start cutting on the legs and get the legs going on them. But that's pretty much the technique for the holes. Doesn't take but about 3 or 4 minutes, I guess. Doesn't take long to cut the hole out.